elements to our bells. First, there's the bell itself, which is what we're going to call this part here, the bell. It looks like an inverted bowl. That's what it looks like on the inside. Now, the second element is our loop. And the loop is what clangs against the bell to make the noise when it's hanging. That's the noise of the loop hitting the inside of your bell. And then the third element are these beads. You're going to make 2 beads. One on the outside here at the top of your bell, and the other on the inside. Here's our clay. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our beads. We're going to make 2 of them. Alright. You're going to pull off a little bit of clay and roll it into a ball. This bead is too big. Let me give you a scale. This is a pencil just to show you how big that bead is. We probably want our bead to be about half that size. So I'm going to cut it in half with my fingers. Split it in half. Roll it again. Here's bead number 2. Now, they're roughly the same size. They do not have to be the same size, but they do need to be roughly this size. I would say these are about the size of a cherry tomato or a large grape, but you can see how big they are compared to my normal sort of yellow pencil here. All right, so, and that's it for shaping the bead. However, for it to become a bead and not just a ball, it needs to have a hole for the string to go through. Take a look. See that hole? This hole was made by using a chopstick, which is what went home with your clay. All right, so to make this, you know that you've got a pointy side and you also have this flat side over here. We're going to use the pointy side to drill a hole into your bead. I'm going to drill it in and twist it with my finger like this. See? And then I'm going to pull it off, flip it around, stick the chopstick in on this side just to make sure that both sides are completely drilled through. And this is what it looks like. That's exactly the size of the hole that it needs to be. The diameter or width of this chopstick. All right, so you can see though when I put the chopstick through, it pushed the clay out a little bit and made this little sort of fluted edge. All you need to do there is use your fingers to flatten that out, and you can use your thumb to lightly smooth it. Okay, all right, 1 bead done. You can do that again for this bead. Okay, those are ready. I'm going to set those aside. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our loop. Now, remember the loop is the clanger that hits against the bell. You can see that this one is an oval. And the reason it's an oval is so that it fits inside of your bell and also is long enough for you to see once the bell is hanging. So see how it's going to hang like this, and you want your loop to be sort of an oval shape, or else it's going to be too short and you won't be able to see it underneath the bell. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. All right, so I want you to pull off a similar sized piece of clay as you did with your 2 beads. These 2 beads, right? This is about the size of how much clay you're going to need for that loop. All right, I'm going to put our chopstick away. We don't need it right now. And we're going to make a snake. You can use your 2 palms to do that like this, or you can use your work surface to make a snake. All right, right now my snake is about the length of pencil. See that? No more, no less. And I'm going to make it into an oval, make it into our loop. So I'm going to attach the two ends of my snake together like this, so they're overlapping by about a 1/2 inch. See that? That means go like this, overlap them and squish them together. Do a good job or else the loop won't stay a loop. It'll crack open at that seam. Alright. Flip it over, do the other side. Alright, and now I don't want a circle there. I don't want it to be the loop to be a circle because it might not fit into your bell. Right? It might be too fat to fit in your bell. So that's the reason why we give it a little pinch and make it into an oval. If you get any little surface cracks that you don't like the looks of, take a look at that. Let's see. You can see that those little cracks right there. If you have a little touch of water, you can give a little touch of water in your little bowl and then smooth out the cracks that way. All right, guys, that loop is done. Now, the trickiest part of your bell is the bell itself. All right, we're gonna make this portion here. All right, the first step is rolling out a ball. All right, and you can do that between your palms, or you can do it on your work surface, sort of like you did your snake, but this time we're making a sphere. Now we're going to take our ball in the palm of our non-dominant hand, so whatever hand you don't write with. You're going to use your hand you do write with. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to use my left hand. Left thumb into the middle of your sphere. Like this, not all the way through. Don't make it a dome. And then we're going to start pinching the sides and spinning it in our palm like this. You can start using both hands, and that is going to make a pointier sort of top to your bell. As always, we're trying to go for walls on our piece that are about the thickness of a pencil. Do you see that? And what I mean by wall is this right here. All right, now let's see, it's starting to look a little bit more pointy, which is great. But I've got those cracks. See all these little stubborn cracks? First, before you go to water, try and smooth it with your finger, because sometimes that works. See how that, just a little light smoothing with your fingertip can get rid of some of those cracks. So try that before you go to water, okay? But if they're stubborn and aren't going away, grab a cup of water and just dip your finger lightly into the water and smooth. Okay. So I kind of like the shape of this bell. I do want to double check and make sure that this loop is going to fit in it, which it does. So that's good. So double check on that. Take your loop, try and stick it inside like this and make sure that your bell is wide enough for the size and width of your loop. Okay, so the next thing that you have to think about is making this hole. Before you do too much, work on the actual outside of the bell and the shape of the bell, you are going to have to drill a hole in it. Because drilling a hole in something always kind of changes the shapes. I'm taking a little bit of the clay dust off of my chopstick from making my bead. All right. I'm going to hold it like this in my hand, not in my palm, but sort of up near my fingers, so that I can support this side of the bell as I'm drilling through the middle. All right, so I'm going to find the middle and I'm going to drill through it, and it looks like this on the edge, the other side. I mean, that's how I'm holding it, and that's going to protect it from changing too much of the shape of your bell. Now, it doesn't look so hot on the outside, after you do that, you can swipe a little bit of the crumbly off with your finger. And then go back to smoothing again. Now in my example bell, you can kind of see that there's texture to it. I made that texture with my thumb. That's all I did to make that texture. And maybe you don't want texture, you know? If you want a completely smooth bell, that will look lovely. And all you have to do here is keep smoothing and keep smoothing until you're happy with what you see. But if you'd like a little bit of texture, you can use your thumb and make little thumbprints, right? And that's all that is there in my example. It's just little tiny thumbprints. There's other ways that you can make texture, and that is with a pencil. You can draw texture with a pencil, or you can draw texture with a paper clip or a toothpick if you'd like texture. It's very easy to do. Draw designs on it. All you have to be careful of is going too hard and going through the bell itself. If you do, you can start all over, ball it up, make another bell, and it's no big deal. So you can also use the caps of markers. So I have a pen here, and it's this open end of the pen. But if you have like a Crayola marker, you can use the cap and you can make little, what's called a scalloped design. And scallop just means like mermaid scales or fish scales, or like what you would imagine. You can imagine this looks a little bit like ocean waves. That's what a scalloped design means. And that's just using the cap of a pen that I have hanging around. But you can be creative with it. You can make all kinds of different texture. And really, that's it. You know, there's not more that we need to do with the clay. As soon as you've got your elements, your two beads, your loop, and your bell, once you have those finished in a way that you like, you know, let them dry. And you're going to be bringing them back to school for me to fire them, because they need to be put in the kiln to fire to have them be permanent. Hear this, yeah, right? That sound comes from a piece that has been fired. So you don't have cord yet at home, but later I'm going to make a video for you about how to string your bell. And I'm going to be giving you back your pieces once they're fired with a piece of this special twine, which you can use to hang them all up in their finished form. And then one last thing. And then when you bring them back to school, after they're all dry, you're going to bring them back to school and put them on my ceramic drop-off shelf. I want you to put all your elements together. Okay? That means your loop can go inside of your bell with your two beads, so that all of those elements can stay close together and they can be fired together and then come back to you together, because your beads and your loop won't have your name on it, okay, but your bell will. Okay, and that's it. That's our bell.